Hey, I hope you and your families are doing well. In this video, I'd like to share with you a powerful stock trading concept and a stock screening concept that I learned from Jesse Livermore in his book, How to Trade in Stocks. Now, the concept is called tandem trading, which is not only looking at the individual stock that you might be interested in, but it's also looking at the group, it's looking at the theme and the brother and sister stocks. How are they acting? How are they potentially setting up? As traders, what we're trying to do is plan and prepare as best we can for the next session when we're doing our stock screening. We're trying to look and analyze where do we think the money is going to flow. So this concept of tandem trading, or I call it looking for pockets of strength, is what I'm going to be taking you through. So this is why I was targeting some recent trades such as in retail restaurant stock Bros and also in a couple of precious metal miners, CDE and AGI. So I'll take you through the full concept of some recent setups that I was targeting. MarketSurge are today's video sponsor. They are my go-to resource for analyzing company fundamentals. Some of the key fundamentals that I like to look for are EPS estimates in all-time high territory with forward guidance being raised, big earnings and big sales growth. If you're interested in a discounted MarketSurge trial, then you'll find a link in the description and comment section below. Okay, so Bros is going to be our first of two examples. You can see as per the session insights that I was targeting Bros through the high of what I call a shakeout demand tail, which was sitting around the 10 and 21 day EMA. So I was targeting it through the high of the shakeout demand tail and a stop loss a cent below the low of the shakeout demand tail. Now I like using buy stop limit orders, and I didn't get filled within the limit range of that buy stop limit order because Bros just flew out of the gate. I didn't get filled any shares. That's a topic for another video. But what I want to do is take you through the thought process of why, when I had planned and prepared for the next session, why was I targeting Bros there? And let's just zoom out a little bit, and we're going to look at the applicable ETF, which is the restaurant ETF, ticker EATS. So this is tandem trading, and I also call it looking for pockets of strength. So as I do my scanning and I'm planning, preparing for the next session, what I'm trying to do is identify stocks from the same group or stocks from the same theme that are basing constructively and look like they're setting up. So for me, if you followed me for a while and you watched the blueprint video, you'll know that I like to look for trigger bars, shakeout demand tails and gap down reverse bars. So what I think is one of the most constructive things to see as you're planning and preparing for the next session is a lot of stocks from the same group or the same theme setting up. And by theme, I mean you can have AI, but AI is obviously quite diverse in terms of the actual theme. You can have a lot of stocks related to AI and potentially infrastructure. It's not just kind of the software and the development side. It could be the energy infrastructure. So you've got to understand the themes in the market as well. But if we look over here at the applicable ETF, which is EATS, what chart pattern do you see? Well, it's kind of got that cup and handle VCP feel to it, right? So if you look here, what I've done is the line that you see is the high of the 4th of June session. What do you see? Well, it actually put in what I call a gap down reverse bar on the 50-day, and then that bar there, that final bar on the 4th of June, as we're planning and preparing for the next session, it's an inside bar that's also a gap down reversal bar. So it's really constructive behavior. If we start looking at some of the leaders in the group, such as Sweet Green here, it's had a really good earnings reaction. What do you notice about the Bros earning reaction and the post couple of days? Look at the volume coming through. Look at the Cava as well. Look at the earnings reaction. So we get a really good sense of what are the bigger boys and girls up to around the earnings. So you're seeing not only the applicable ETF that looks very constructive, basing here inside bar looks like it's going to go, because from periods of contraction come expansion. So this is then what I'm looking for. These are the pieces. We get a really good sense of what are the bigger boys and girls doing around the earnings. So if we just zoom in a little bit now, okay, what you get with Bros specifically is you get this textbook shakeout demand tail off the 21-day EMA, and look how the volume is drying up. If you take a look at Sweet Green, which is another leader, it's putting in this inside bar on low volume sitting on the 10-day, and it just shook out twice on its 21-day EMA. Does it look like money is going to flow there? So for me, when I'm running through my scans, I'll look for a couple of thousand stocks, and I like to group them in terms of industry groups, because as I'm then going through them, I'm going, wow, hang on a minute, Bros, you got Sweet Green, you got Cava, okay, that kind of shakeout on the earnings reaction. You then got the applicable ETF. Wow, they're all basing pretty constructively. So as I'm planning, preparing for the next session, the question that I'm constantly asking myself is, okay, what's setting up? Where do I think the money is going to flow? What's setting up? Where do I think the money is going to flow is really, really important. Like, where do you think the money is going to flow? If you're the last person buying, if you buy the highest price and no one comes in after you and buys a higher price for that stock, you're going to get stopped out pretty shortly. So you've got to have self-awareness of not only you and the setups you're targeting, but where do you think other market operators, other market participants, other traders are also going to be targeting? So you've got to know your stocks. You've got to know what's going to be on other people's radars. So when I'm looking at Bros, okay, I'm thinking about about the setup, which is obviously the identification part. I'm thinking about the initial risk, circa 3.5% off a 20-day ADR percentage, 4.25%. That's very acceptable for me in swing trading off the daily chart. And I think this is going to be on a lot of traders' radars. You also have this kind of break of a downwards trend line as well, and it's shaken out a couple of times along the 21-day. Really good earnings reaction. You got the group looking pretty interesting. You've got another leader being Sweet Green looking interesting. Kava just shook out on its earnings. I think a lot of money is going to flow here. So this is kind of a mindset shift in terms of tandem trading. For me, it works better for my own psychology and internalizing things of pockets of strength. Where do I see the pockets of strength? Is it in retail restaurant stocks? Is it in solar stocks? Is it in EVs? Is it in semiconductors? Is it in this or that? So as I'm preparing for the next session, okay, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, okay, are there stocks from similar themes, similar groups all setting up heading into the session? I think that is one of the most constructive things that you can possibly see. And then you're trying to identify the leaders in the group. Okay, the 1, 2, 3 leaders in the group, and they're the ones that I'm then trying to get positioned in. So for me, a useful thought process is plan and prepare as best you can for the next session, and then you execute, perform to the best of your ability during that session, and then you rinse and repeat and you go again. And you just take it one day at a time, just one day at a time. Okay, if you hear all of the good sportsmen, all of the good kind of football teams, sports teams, what do they say? It's the next game. In tennis, it's the next point. You go 1 point at a time. In golf, you take it one shot at a time, one hole at a time. Okay, if you're going to win a major, you take it one shot at a time, one hole at a time, and then you piece the rounds together. It's the same with trading. It's about planning, preparing as best you can for the next session, perform to the best of your ability, rinse, repeat, and go again. So the next one that we're going to do is precious metals. So let's go into our second and final example, and we're going to be looking at precious metals and precious metal miners. Specifically, we're going to look at gold via the proxy GLD, and then also some of the gold miners. We're going to look at GDX, which is the gold miner ETF, and then you can see as per the session insights that I was targeting entries on the 6th of June 2024 in CDE and also AGI. So let's go through the thought process, right? So as I said on Bros in the retail restaurants, I go through a couple of thousand stocks every single night when the market has closed. For me, I absolutely love it. With ADHD, it's a real creative outlet as well, because I'm grouping those results together via industry groups, and I'm going, okay, where are the themes, where are the groups potentially setting up? Do they look like they're getting ready to move higher? Do I see trigger bars? Do I see shakeout demand tails? Do I see gap down reversal bars? Am I expecting these type of stocks, these type of setups to be on a lot of traders, a lot of operators in the market's radars, and that they're also going to be buying? Okay, I want people to be buying at a worse price, at a higher price than which I bought potentially that ETF or that individual stock, because when their buying then comes through, that helps push it higher. I can free roll into that, and then can I sit and let the trend play out however far that trend may want to go? So what you'll see is on all of these, what I've done is I've marked the 5th of June 2024 high. Okay, I'm currently filming this on the 7th of June before the market has opened, the US market that is. So what do you notice with GLD? So if we go and look at GLD, what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at, okay, there's a nice big base. I like looking around the lows of the base. What do you notice? Gap down reversal bar, shakeout demand tail. If you've seen some of my other videos, you'll be familiar with those. Then look at this. See how it's holding the 50D. First retest of the 50, shake out underneath it, and then it's starting to recover. It's looking interesting, right? Then we go and look at, say, GDX, which is the gold miner ETF. That'll give us a good feel for what a lot of the individual stocks in the group are doing. What do you notice? Inside bar sitting on the 50. So remember, when I'm preparing for the 6th of June session, I haven't seen this bar. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I haven't seen that bar. So I'm preparing for the 6th of June session, and I'm thinking there could be a lot of money flowing here. This is setting up. This is looking constructive. This is an area of the market for the next session I want to be targeting exposure in. I want to be hitting it hard. So you see GDX here, inside bar, shakeout demand tail on the 50, and the volume's drying up after this, how it looked like it just rolled out of bed. But you've got to understand, commodity stocks, they mean revert. Okay, things can go from looking terrible to looking really constructive in a bar. One bar can change a lot. That bar there changes much. Significant, that bar. It's a nice inside bar on the 50-day. Okay, then we start looking at the leading stocks. So you'll note that CDE is putting in a trigger bar, so tight low volume inside bar pretty much around its 1021 EMA. It's not pulled back down to the 50. See how the gold miner ETF is on its 50-day hit. CDE isn't. Hasn't even come anywhere near its 50-day. That's relative strength. Take a look at Alamos Gold as well. Has it come down to its 50-day when the group did? Nope. This stock is stronger. So then it's about trying to identify the pockets of strength, the tandem trading, and then it's trying to look for the stocks that are the strongest ones in the group. You can do that by looking at the fundamentals, say the EPS, the estimates, are they going into all-time high territory? Is the full guidance has been raised? What's the earnings? What's the sales? What's the guidance? All of that kind of stuff. You can also look at it as a technical perspective. GDX is kind of the if you like, the ETF. So I like to think of it visually. I'm very visual how I learn. The ETF is a bucket, and the bucket is filled with loads of gold miner stocks, right? So that then creates GDX. So the average gold miner is around its 50-day. That's average, kind of the group, right? But see AGI, see how it's above average. It's much stronger than the average stock. CDE is much stronger than the average stock. So where possible, I want to go with strength. I want to go with the leadership. Livermore spoke a lot about focusing on the leading stocks in the market. This is another way that you can focus on the leading stocks in the market. So just to summarize, when I'm planning and preparing for the next session, I like to look at a relatively wide net of stocks. I like to group them in terms of industry groups. Then when I'm scanning through, if you're looking at the industry groups, so I just go from A to Z. So as you start going through, you may go, wow, hang on a minute, there's a load of airline stocks that look pretty constructive. Wow, hang on, there's a load of semiconductor stocks, there's a load of precious metal miners, there's a load of whatever it may be, maybe oil and gas stocks, maybe copper stocks, maybe uranium, whatever it may be. But if you're just looking at it in a haphazard way and you're just looking at a random group of 500 stocks and you haven't kind of organized them in any way, I think you miss some of the nuances. I think you miss some of the details. So I really hope that video helps you with your scanning and your day-to-day routine of your scanning and planning, preparing as best you can for the next session. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video.